On December 30th, my parents' dining room filled to the edges for our yearly New Year's Eve dinner, always celebrated a day ahead of time. 20 relatives packed in, an excess of wine glasses, an excess of performance. My father, Ray, had been drinking since early afternoon, and by the time dessert arrived, he had reached that familiar drunken state, boisterous, emotional, sharp-edged. He rose from his chair and tapped his spoon against his glass. "To the new year," he announced, swaying slightly. Then his eyes locked on me. "Mara, when are you finally going to buy a lake house like Sloan? Or are you planning to rent forever?" Laughter erupted around the table. My sister leaned back in her cashmere sweater, regal, as if receiving homage. I lowered my glass. The stem didn't even make a sound, though my throat tightened all the same. I had spent my entire life mastering the art of letting jokes pass through me like passing storms. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice even, "she doesn't own that house the way you think she does." The room went still. Ray froze mid-sip. Sloane's smile vanished. The color drained from her face. Even the old hallway clock suddenly sounded deafening. That kind of silence wasn't unfamiliar. I'd been raised inside it on the east side of Columbia, Sloane shining, Ray clapping, my mother, Linda, smoothing over edges, and me stationed beside the table like an extra piece of furniture. When I earned straight A's, it was expected. That's your job. When Sloane brought home average grades, it meant leadership and a backyard cookout. By 10, I stopped asking why. By 14, I stopped wanting answers. Silence became my armor, dense, reliable, unseen. And sitting there now, with 20 pairs of eyes waiting for me to apologize or explain, I realized I had finally carried that armor somewhere it could wound. I kept my gaze on my father's trembling hand and let the silence do what it had never done for me before. Make everyone pay attention. I pushed my chair back. "Give me a minute." I stepped into the hallway, walked past the framed school photos, and breathed as though I'd been holding my lungs closed for years. I had built this moment the same way I built everything else. Quietly. After high school, Sloane went to Clemson, my parents covering whatever her scholarship didn't. I stayed nearby, because tuition was almost nothing if you chased every grant. I worked before sunrise, after classes, and every weekend. Later, I transferred to Charlotte and graduated straight into the chaos of 2020 with a computer science degree and a small but stubborn loan. Remote hiring arrived like a gold rush. I landed an engineering job tied to Austin and quickly learned the value of silence. When Ray asked about my salary, I understated it. I kept the cramped studio apartment, the wheezing Corolla, the same worn hoodies in rotation. It wasn't about virtue. It was armor with storage. Late in 2020, a listing on Lake Murray started haunting my saved searches. A modern waterfront home, walls of glass facing the sunset, a dock tucked into a protected cove. The seller slashed the price. I moved before the market caught on. I purchased it through my grandmother's trust, my name absent from anywhere my family would think to look. I renovated, hired a property manager, Dilea Park, who believed she worked for an anonymous owner. For 2 years, rent checks arrived, and the secret stayed intact. Then one July morning, Dilea forwarded a new application. "Sloane, backed by Camille Mercer's money. Requested my house." I typed a single word, approved, and waited. I returned to the dining room with my phone unlocked and my pulse calm. Ray's glass hovered near his lips. "Sloane, watch me the way you watch a match you're convinced won't light." I extended my phone over the tablecloth. Dilea's leasing portal. Owner, Margaret Hale, Irrevocable Trust, 2021. Tenant, Sloane Hale. Balance due, red and glaring. "This is the lake house," I said. "Mine. I bought it in 2021 and kept it in my grandmother's trust. You applied to rent it in 2023. I approved you." I turned the phone so every aunt, every cousin, every golf buddy could see the months of late notices. "You're 4 months behind." 48,400. The air seemed to collapse. Ray's face drained from flush to gray. Sloane's mouth opened as if she'd forgotten how breathing worked. "You let everyone think," she started, her voice breaking. "I'll let you talk," I said. I stayed quiet. "The way you taught me." Ray slammed his hand on the table. "You did this to humiliate us." "Yes," I said, surprised by how clean the word felt. I waited for the stage you always gave her. The next morning, I instructed Dalia to send the notice to quit and file if the balance wasn't paid. No payment came. 30 days later, the locks were changed. In the spring, we sold the house into a hot market, and the trust cleared enough profit to buy my life back. I changed my number. I moved to Austin. The Corolla stayed. The silence didn't. For the first time ever, I exhaled and nothing followed.